a state of emergency. The world is to be placed on lockdown. Stay away from your pubs, restaurants, and supermarkets. The World Health Organization has announced that COVID-19 is a pandemic. Find out how we are monitoring and responding to the outbreak. How you can help slow the spread of COVID-19 in Australia, and what to do if you have symptoms.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today's video subject matter is coronavirus hysteria and the stupid. So, the world, particularly Australia, has gone a little insane. Australians look like idiots to the world with the utter greed of the toilet paper crisis. It also doesn't help that the Herald Sun is being simply ridiculous. Knowing full well people are reacting this way to the pandemic, how utterly irresponsible to feed the hysteria further with making such dangerous headlines such as Victorians told to buy 2 weeks worth of food as state jumps to 49 infections. Have they not been following that people have been reacting this particular way?
Hey, fuck! Let me know!
Are you fucking joking? I didn't touch you! I took the bag! You came and hit me! I took the bag! You fucking came and hit me! Excuse me?
Go away from my daughter!
Stop! Please! I just want...
No, not one bag!
You know, what could have solved this problem immediately? Closing the borders, like Singapore, Russia, and Israel did, hardly affected countries, except Australia decided to continue the outpour of people into our borders who were affected by this new biochemically created lab disease. Why did Australia not default the same way other countries did? Well, most likely due to the fact that appearing racist is a prioritized concern these days. Easier to allow people into your country to possibly spread a new disease rather than block them off and quarantine them, which is of course what is happening now. We are one of the lesser affected countries, thankfully. According to health.gov.au, 375 overall Australians have been affected by the coronavirus, with only 5 deaths. Now, it's 5 deaths too many. I am pro-life. I don't want anyone dying. But the hysteria needs to stop. What aren't they telling you? This is much lower than many other countries. The cases of recoveries versus death are much higher. The recoveries are quite high, something nobody really seems to realize. Look at the last column. Anything under 100 people, Russia, Singapore, the Philippines, these are the countries that closed off their borders or have people hardly traveling. Did you know that according to the CDC, the Center for Disease and Control, as of 2010 in America, 61,000 people have died of influenza. But why is that not called a pandemic? Of course, we are dealing with a new sickness. So some panic is understandable, but whilst people are dying from COVID-19, as it is accurately called, let us see how many are actually recovering around the world. It looks to me as if 78,942 have recovered as opposed to the 7,134 who have died. And these are the people who are more susceptible to sickness: older people, children, sickly people. What does the World Health Organization say we should do to protect ourselves? Well, let's have a look. Everyone must have good hygiene. Okay. I used to be a dental nurse, so essentially mask up, wash your hands, and, don't cough around people. Pretty basic stuff. Make sure you're doing it though, because you don't know if you can contract it at the moment, because there are probably people unaccounted for. By the way, all the information I am giving to you today will be in the description box below. Now, we've already dealt with what they have told you. Most of the websites I am going off are government-approved websites and facts according to objective sources. But now let's go to what they're not telling you. Have a look at this. In 2019, Event 201 was held where they discussed a fictional disease.
So in October of 2019, so this past October, the Johns Hopkins Center for Health and Security hosted a pandemic tabletop exercise called Event 201. And you can go to the site, you can read about it. With partners, and let's just hear who the partners are: the World Economic Forum, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the CIA, the World Bank, the Chinese Center for Disease Control, and who are the other characters on this thing? Bloomberg as well. Bloomberg was in on this too. So this was non-governmental agencies coming together to do a test. It's called Event 201. It was done in October of 2019. For the scenario, this is them saying, for the scenario, quote, we modeled a fictional coronavirus pandemic, but we explicitly stated that it was not a prediction. You modeled a fictional coronavirus pandemic. Of course, there are many different strains of coronavirus. All right. And but don't worry, guys. We explicitly said it wasn't any kind of prediction. It was just, we were just doing some tests, and then just coincidentally the thing happened. We've seen this how many times? How many times? 9/11.
Sus. The push for a vaccine. It sounds unreasonable to say, why are you opposing a vaccine? Well, I'm only opposing a vaccine if the outcome is as this man states. Because why would anyone oppose it? Here is the argument for why a vaccine is not a good idea.
It sounds far-fetched to the average person who hasn't heard this before, but this is nothing new. But let's go beyond the rabies. Let's talk about people getting a flu shot or getting a avian flu inoculation. There is another very insidious disease, if you will, which is really a man-made disease. It's a biological construct called MERS coronavirus out of the Middle East. It's the Middle East respiratory syndrome. It's made its way into Europe to a certain extent, and eventually, because of air travel, it will reach around the world. It's another example of where inoculations or vaccines are being derived, or they're trying to derive for. That, again, I always like to go all the way to the end. What's the purpose? What's the goal? If you have a man-made or engineered virus, why was it created? Is it simply just to kill people? Well, that's one part of it, but if you go further and you go deeper than that, it is to get people to demand a vaccine, a shot, if you will, or a pill. Why would, if you're in a position of control and of power, of ultimate power, why would you want people to demand a vaccine? Well, it's because something's in the vaccine that you want people to then have as a part of their body.
So here we have as much valuable information that I think is relevant to compile. Make your own judgments, and remember,
we're all gonna die.
Stay safe, guys. Don't believe the hysteria. Stock up a little bit, but don't go insane about it. And remember, there are old people out there, and there are women with children who need to also stock up. So don't be so greedy with what you're getting if you are one of those idiots. And it's also perfectly fine to hang out with your friends. Okay, guys. Thanks so much for watching this video. Follow me on Telegram. Remember, The Alternatives, BitChute, and Rational Rights TV. I'll see you guys next time.